For the last few days, Gujarat has witnessed the exodus of thousands of migrant workers from UP and Bihar who were targeted after the rape of a 14-month-old girl. The accused, who's been arrested, was a migrant worker from Bihar. But how did the exodus actually begin? Did Congress leader Alpesh Thakor's speeches lead to the violence? The Congress says no, but Alpesh is on camera talking about revenge.
સેકન્ડ મુદ્દો છે પણ અમારી તો બહુ સ્પષ્ટ વાત છે અમારી દીકરી સાથે આ થયું છે એનો બદલો 100% લેવામાં આવશે અને આવતીકાલે જ કાર્યક્રમ નક્કી કરવામાં આવશે કે એ લોકોને રહેવા દેવા નહીં રહેવા દેવા અને ફેક્ટરી તો નહીં ચાલવા દઈએ એ ફેક્ટરીના માલિક એને એની જવાબદારીમાંથી છટક્યો છે એને બોલાયો દીકરીના પપ્પાએ તેમ છતાં આગળની એની ફરજ ના નિભાઈ એટલે એ ફેક્ટરીની સામે પણ હલ્લાબોલ કરવામાં આવશે.
गुजरात में परिस्थिति काबू में है. पिछले 48 घंटे में कोई घटना नहीं घटी है. सभी को सुरक्षा अच्छी तरह से दी जा गई है. पुलिस को स्टैंड टू बनाए रखा है. गुजरात के लोगों को भी मैं अपील करता हूं कि शांति और सद्भावना रखें. गवर्नमेंट ने हाईकोर्ट को भी लिखा है कि फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट में केस चलाना चाहती है. जल्दी से जल्दी उनको दंड मिले और कड़ी से कड़ी सजा मिले. गुजरात में भाईचारा, शांति, सद्भावना बनाए रखने के लिए मैं अपील भी करता हूं.
प्रधानमंत्री जी का गृह राज्य है वो. प्रधानमंत्री जी के गृह राज्य में अगर यूपी के, बिहार के और मध्य प्रदेश के लोग यूं ही मार मार के भगाए जाएंगे तो प्रधानमंत्री को भी बनारस जाना है एक दिन, इतना याद रखें. वो तो गुजरात के थे, बनारस के लोगों ने कभी देखा भी नहीं कि गुजरात के हैं कि महाराष्ट्र के हैं. सरेआम झूठ बोले फिर भी बनारस के लोगों ने उनको गले लगाया और उनको अपना प्रधानमंत्री बना के भेज दिया. क्योंकि उत्तर भारत के लोग राष्ट्रीय प्रवृत्ति के लोग होते, राष्ट्रीय भावना के लोग होते, क्षेत्रीय भावना के लोग नहीं.
So some very ugly politics being played out as we see migrant workers being targeted there in Gujarat. It kind of reminds you of the way migrants have been targeted in the past in, say, Mumbai, for example. Well, joining us tonight, we have Pawan Khera of the Congress, Mr. Deshratan Nigam, who is a lawyer and a sympathizer of the RSS, Mr. Pawan Verma, who is a senior leader of the JDU, and senior journalist Aarti Jairath also with us. Pawan Khera, what does the Congress have to say about Alpesh Thakur clearly on camera saying if the police doesn't take action, then we will take revenge? We will decide whether outsiders should stay here or not.
No, I think he was very clear. He said halla bol in front of the factory to make the factory owner accountable. Now, if there is any crime he has committed, it's their government, it's been their government forever, it's their government in the center. What stops them from filing an FIR? The Chief Minister took 6 days to come out and make this statement. What was he doing? Every time there is a law and order problem, if it is in UP and it's Samajwadi Party's government, they'll say law and order is a state subject. Now we want to ask them, what is it that's stopping them from filing an FIR against whoever they think is guilty? You can't just get away by saying it's Alpesh Thakur's people. File an FIR. You've already arrested 450 people. Why isn't Alpesh Thakur one of them if he's guilty? So it's very easy to just play politics and get away by naming people. That's not enough. You are in government. You are not in opposition. Please file an FIR.
But Pawan Khera, the point is you can't say it's just about a halla bowl at a factory. You know, when you look at what he said, we will take revenge. We will decide whether to let outsiders, stay here or not. We will stop factories where these people work. I mean, that's a pretty inflammatory thing to say.
No, we also checked with him. All that he was saying was that all factory owners should have proper documentation of every worker. Nothing wrong with that. That's also law of the land. So trying to twist those words into something which he didn't mean. And as I said, in case he is guilty of any violation, you remember, Nidhi, very well, when Hardik Patel was agitating for the rights of Patidars, he was not only put behind bars for several months, in fact almost a year. The kind of sections that were imposed on him are normally imposed on terrorists. So what stopped this government from, do you think this government would have stopped?
Okay, so let me ask Mr. Nigam
against Alpesh Thakur if they had evidence?
Okay, Mr. Nigam, they're saying that if the government is serious, slap him with serious charges.
That the government may or may not do. I am not
Should it
sure.
have done that by now, given that this video has now been circulating?
They should have done, but the least I expected from Pawan to at least condemn Alpesh Thakur, because you just played the recordings and he was so clear on that, and he was talking about revenge, and you must also realize that the migrant workers provide a huge workforce in Gujarat, and some of the movement may be because of this reason, but also the DGP is on record saying that some of the movement is also on account of the coming holidays that are coming up. And so on one hand there is a malicious social media campaign which is going on, rumor mongering going on, and to target these people and to target people from UP and Bihar. And this is the worst form of politics that I have seen, that trying to affect UP and Bihar at the same time linking it with Gujarat. So that kind of a dirty politics which is coming up here, which should be avoided. You know, it can have larger repercussions because migrant workers are all over the place. In all over India, there is a huge amount of workforce which moves from one place to other. So I think at least the least the Congress could have done was to condemn the language which has been used. See, the law and order issues will be taken care of. 400 so many people have been arrested. I am sure this inflammatory speech that has been should be taken cognizance of, and a strict action should be taken.
I want to ask Mr. Pavan Verma of the JDU that we've often seen this kind of sort of identity politics in a very ugly way, as I said, play out in Mumbai. We've seen it with the MNS, even the Shiv Sena. But now we are seeing it in Gujarat. And what has the impact really been on those migrant workers, who many of whom have actually come back to Bihar? There was one train full of them today whom we met.
There is no doubt that there is a kind of mass exodus happening from Gujarat, and it is something that is most unfortunate, because it is in some way the rule of the mob. Of course, it's the state government's responsibility to maintain law and order, but I just spoke to Mr. Nitish Kumar. He said he has spoken to the Chief Minister, Mr. Rupani, and that all action is being taken to prevent such violence from recurring. 450 people, as was mentioned, have been arrested. Relief camps have been set up. The Chief Secretaries and the DGPs of both states are in touch with each other, and we expect normalcy to return, because the people of Bihar have contributed to Gujarat, with both to its state, to its economy. For many of them, it's a second home. This kind of hounding out those who are not ethnically of Gujarat, it's a kind of mob behavior which is most unfortunate. Now, as regards Mr. Alpesh Thakor, now I just want to say this, that there is enough, and this is not about politics. It's not, I'm not going to embed this human tragedy in the politics between BJP and Congress. I believe that Mr. Alpesh Thakor should own up to the responsibility that he has incited mob violence. There are speeches on record where he has spoken out against non-Gujaratis. He has a Thakor Sena. There is evidence that they have been attacking those from Bihar in an organized and systemic manner. He is actually going to take out a rally soon, which he calls the Sadbhavna rally, in favor of those who have been arrested for this crime. So I believe the responsible way for the Congress party in this was to transcend politics and to issue both a cautionary note and an admonishment to Mr. Thakor.
Okay.
Mr. Alpesh Thakor.
Okay,
if you are responsible for this kind of behavior, do we see it only from the prism of politics, or do we see it from trying to restrain people who are responsible for it?
So then, Aarti Jarath, what is this? Are we seeing a new political dynamic that is playing out in Gujarat with Alpesh Thakor there? Do you think that this is something that maybe even caught the Congress off guard? And, because he's slightly reined in his comments, but what he said is there on camera for everyone to hear.
No. And Nidhi, if there is, evidence that he made inflammatory speeches and, incited violence, I mean, the Gujarat government is perfectly within its rights to arrest him, and they should do it. I mean, it's been 6 days now. Why haven't they done it? They should have acted by now. But, I think we need to look beyond this blame game of whether Alpesh Thakor is responsible or not. Today, the Chief Minister of Gujarat has announced that they are going to introduce a law which will bind all companies in Gujarat to hire 80% Gujaratis only in their firms and, whatever sort of shops, employment. So obviously, the issue that Alpesh Thakor is flagging about lack of job opportunities for Gujaratis, I mean, that is obviously an issue on the ground. I mean, it obviously is an issue on the ground. Otherwise, why should the Chief Minister...
So it doesn't justify mob violence.
It doesn't justify mob violence at all. But, I mean, there is clearly a problem. And, Nidhi, I think we need to really look at the pattern. The areas that have been affected are Mehsana, Patan, Ahmedabad,
5-6 districts.
Sabarkantha. Okay, go back to 2002. These were the epicenters of the violence in 2002. Go back to 2015, 2016. The violence by the Patidars started in Mehsana. So there is some problem there which nobody is addressing. There is an economic, I mean, we talk about the Gujarat model of development, but if the Gujarat model of development was so superior, why should there be an economic problem which crops up from time to time and leads to mob violence?
But having said,
there is a serious problem. So arrest Alpesh Thakor, of course, because no mob violence is justified. But you obviously have to look deeper beyond,
So is there a way, Pawan Khera, if there are genuine grievances in these parts of Gujarat and by the local community, to channel that politically without driving people out of the state? Or are we going to go back to those sort of, I mean, how is then the Congress in Gujarat going to be different from the MNS?
Absolutely. Nidhi, whether it's Sikhs and people from Uttar Pradesh being thrown out of Shillong as we speak, whether it's Sikh farmers being thrown out under Mr. Modi's watch in Gujarat, in Kutch, whether it's people in Assam in the name of NRC being victimized, whatever it is, I completely agree with Mr. Pawan Verma that there is a bigger issue here. It's misgovernance, Mr. Verma. I don't know why he doesn't want to use these words. Whether it's a rape of a child, whether it's this violence against migrant laborers, this is misgovernance. Let's first accept this. Please arrest the guilty. Please take action against whoever is guilty. Stop playing politics. You are in government, for God's sake. I agree with Aarti completely. These are fault lines that need to be focused on. She is making a very intellectual and a very sociological point. Yes, these are fault lines, which we see often. Every 2-3 years, we see these fault lines coming out. But when you are in power for 25-27 years, you cannot hide behind accusations. कि वो बीजेपी वाले कांग्रेस वाले करा रहे हैं, कांग्रेस का एक एमएलए करा रहा है। अरे साहब, आप सरकार में हो, सारी निजामत आपकी है, दिल्ली में भी आप हैं, गांधीनगर में भी आप हैं, आपको कौन रोक रहा है एक्शन लेने से? आप 6 दिन बाद क्यों नहीं आए? मुख्यमंत्री चुप बैठे हैं।
I want to ask Mr. Nigam about that, and also you see the state government can't say on one hand that people are leaving because they're being threatened, and the DGP is also saying they're going home for the holidays. It can't be both. I mean, this is very, very contradictory. It makes no sense.
No, it's a combination of both the factors, because holiday season is also there and people do move. It's not that. But to a large extent, what you're saying, that exodus is taking place, as Pawan Verma was also saying. And these need to be checked, and this Chief Minister has very clearly assured the people, and I've also asked the migrant workers coming back, and he said and he has taken strict action, there's no doubt. But the least I was expecting from Pawan to at least to condemn.
But what's stopping them from arresting Alpesh?
Right?
See, that's they need to have more evidence. I think it has to be verified. I didn't interrupt you, please. I didn't interrupt you.
Sorry.
I didn't interrupt you.
No, this is the least everybody expects.
You always interrupt me, I have noticed.
Okay. One second, Pawan, let him finish. Yeah.
So the fact remains, and they must arrest. And at the same time, confidence building measures which have been taken have to be further brought in, and strict action needs to be taken by the Gujarat government, and I am sure they must be in the process if they have this the videos that you have played, and these are very inflammatory.
We have them, the media has them, there's no reason for the police not to have them.
But you know, I just like to know, I mean, on the one hand you are assuring all these migrant laborers and asking them to come back. On the other hand, you're saying that there will be 80% job reservation for Gujaratis. What are the migrant laborers going to come back to?
I'll tell you why.
And you know, if you are going to have such an insular approach, then you're actually, you know, not going to have a one India anymore, because then in every state, people are going to say jobs only for local residents. We don't want outsiders.
I can answer that.
So your whole dream of one India just comes crashing down.
You know, when you talk of jobs, there are kinds of jobs where Gujaratis don't enter. And
he
that
said 80% of jobs in factories, right? The first factory that was attacked, which is where this you know, laborer worked, whose child, I mean, this laborer worked who was arrested for raping that child. Yeah. This was a ceramic factory. And are you trying to tell me that no Gujarati would like to work in a ceramic factory?
See, there are Gujaratis, but at the lowest end of the labor force, it is the migrant workers which have taken that space where Gujaratis do not enter. If you look at the distribution,
the danger here is that you could see the beginning of a very dangerous kind of identity politics being played out, and if it plays out violently like this, then that's when, you know, that's when the alarm bells should ring. There may be certain valid issues that you've raised that need to be looked at.
No doubt about it.
But it shouldn't sort of manifest itself like this. Thank you to all of you for joining us on that big political story tonight.